He stole my clover, he stole my name, and he stole my life. Ugh. And now he broke my hand.
Hey, hello, how do you do? Shady Durags here. Believe it or not, before BoJack Horseman, I actually didn't have a big history with adult animation. I was, and still am, more of a Saturday morning cartoon kind of guy. The only adult cartoon I had serious history with was King of the Hill. But of course, thanks to the nature of my channel, I am getting more into them. Now I'm checking out shows like Love, Death, and Robots, F is for Family, and even revisiting some old classics. Yep, I finally decided to binge watch the legendary show Futurama. Partly because I'm always looking for potential topics to talk about, but mostly because I get bored. For the 2.5 of you who don't know, Futurama is a 2000 show created by Matt Groening, the mind behind The Simpsons and Disenchantment. It's about a delivery company in the 31st century called Planet Express. You have Fry, the delivery boy who was frozen for 1,000 years.
The moon? The moon? Wow! I'm gonna be a famous hero, just like Neil Armstrong and those other brave guys no one ever heard of.
Leela, a Cyclops captain who grew up orphaned.
Look, I don't know about your previous captains, but I intend to do as little dying as possible.
And Bender, an evil robot who runs on alcohol specifically designed to bend things.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers. In fact, forget the park!
There are also a plethora of side characters who help fill out the world, both in Planet Express and out. By legal standards of cartoon reviewers, I'm obligated to say my opinion of a show whenever I mention it for the first time. No surprise to you all, but so far I find Futurama to be an enjoyable experience. Blah blah blah, the comedy's great, blah blah blah, the stories are great, blah blah blah, you've heard it all before. Now, when you hear Futurama, there's one episode that immediately comes to mind as the best, most emotional episode of not only this show, but in all of television. Jurassic Bark. It's Jurassic Bark. Not a single one of you was not thinking of Jurassic Bark. In fact, some of you were commenting below how it should be Jurassic Bark. Yes, I know about Jurassic Bark. It's one of the few episodes of Futurama I've actually seen. My problem was, I thought it was the only Futurama episode capable of making me feel the feels. But nope. Turns out,
there is another.
And there's probably more too, but today we're focusing on the luck of the Fryrish. This is also an episode well known for making people feel things, but I severely underestimated its power until I saw the episode for myself. To my shock, despite its reputation, there actually aren't many big names who have talked about this episode on YouTube. Alpha J, you slacking. So the episode starts in the past, ironically enough, and not just in the past, but the past of the past. We see the day of Fry's birth.
The Mets win!
This is the happiest day of my life!
Here's your baby, ma'am.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Not really the focus of the episode, but there's a bit more input on Fry's parents than we've gotten in previous episodes. Before now, we didn't know much about them, only that they weren't the best people, doing things like keeping Fry out of school and discouraging the police to look for him. But behavior like that is standard for this show. Part of me was thinking that Fry might have had an abusive relationship with them, but it's clarified in this episode that their biggest sin is being more concerned with their own problems rather than their children. So they're not really abusive, just ignorant and irresponsible. So yeah, there are your typical Futurama characters. After his birth, Fry is given the name Philip and meets his older brother, Yancey.
Look, Yancey, it's your baby brother, Philip.
I want to be named Philip.
Son, your name is Yancey, just like me and my grandfather and so on.
And the audience is introduced to the most important element of this episode, Yancey's jealousy. The first words that come out of this character's mouth are those of coveting. He wants what his brother has. The first act he does is throw his baby brother's rocket out of the window just from pure spite. As someone watching the show, you're thinking to yourself, wow, what a little snot. You see what he did, you know why he did it, and there's no justification for it, it's just wrong. But while you might dislike his actions, you don't really hate him because, again, Futurama is a show filled with selfish people. So the show cuts back to the 31st century where we see the employees of Planet Express at a horse race. There's a lot of different things going on, world building and character shenanigans, but this scene's purpose is to establish that, for this episode, Fry is unlucky, or rather, he's blaming his consequences on bad luck.
Oh, I am so unlucky. I've run over black cats that were luckier than me.
We then go back to Fry's childhood and see him playing basketball with his brother. Once again, Yancey is shown to covet what Fry has, and his motives are extremely selfish. But again, they're not that extreme. Yancey doesn't do anything worth hating for, just disliking. Taking his brother's trick shot is wrong, but you could see any little kid acting like this. What's important is that Fry remembers that this is how his brother treated him, and that it wasn't good. It's at this point we're introduced to the MacGuffin of the episode, the 7-leaf clover, which gives young Fry the luck he needs to win the game. Back to the future, Fry laments that if he still had his clover, his luck would absolutely change. The others bring up that it might be still where he left it.
Hey, yeah, maybe it is still there. Helping some ant defeat another ant, or helping some piece of dirt turn its luck around. Dirt doesn't need luck.
That wasn't funny, but for some reason I found it hilarious. Fry, Leela, and Bender all head down into the sewers to find the clover. I almost complained about how stupid this was since the sewers are supposed to be an extremely dangerous place, but then I remembered that their entire job is going to dangerous places for ludicrous reasons. This is mild compared to what they usually do. After a couple more jokes, we flash back to Fry's childhood again.
Stop hogging the clover!
This scene solidifies Fry's clover of being lucky and Yancey wanting what belongs to Fry. I keep mentioning that the show is hammering in Yancey being a jerky brother, but remember, when you watch this episode for the first time, you don't know that that's what the episode is doing. You think it's just telling a backstory, and it just so happens that Yancey is another part of Fry's past that he doesn't like. It's very good storytelling that simultaneously gives you the information you need to understand what's going on while making you sympathize with Fry. In each and every scene, Fry never provokes Yancey. His brother is simply jealous and goes out of his way to steal what Fry has. We do this back and forth between flashbacks and what's happening now until Fry finally gets to the hiding place of his clover.
It's gone! The whole place has been cleaned out! Yancey stole my clover! That thief!
Fry's clover is gone and his immediate instinct is to blame his brother. Note, Fry has not been thinking about Yancey, he's been thinking about the clover. Yancey is only on the audience's mind because we were recently given a lot of scenes with him. And yet, despite Fry jumping to conclusions, it's really easy to side with him given what we've seen. Fry eventually comes across a statue that looks exactly like his older brother. The statue reads Philip J. Fry with Fry's lucky clover on the jacket collar. Fry realizes that his brother Yancey stole both his clover and his name. The crew head back to Planet Express headquarters, and after looking at a documentary, Fry sees that Yancey not only stole his name and his clover, but the lifestyle he always wanted. He lived an incredible life with the reputation of being the first man on Mars. And a flashback to Yancey all but solidifies this. We see Yancey filch Fry's drawing of going into space as an adult, looking shifty as he does, and we see him find the 7-leaf clover. Wanting the luck that's rightfully his, Fry finds out that this imposter was buried with the clover on an orbiting graveyard.
Hey, is that orbiting cemetery near here?
It will be in a couple hours.
Again, that wasn't that funny, but I found it freaking hilarious. I feel like Leela is a bit out of character here. Not that she wouldn't grave rob, but it should have taken a little bit more to convince her. But time constraints and all that.
It's all lies, every word of it. He wasn't original, he wasn't a Martian, he wasn't Philip Fry, and since when is he a the?
So Philip, Bender, and Leela all dig up the grave, but just before they finish, Fry reads the full description on the tombstone.
Son, I'm naming you Philip J. Fry in honor of my little brother, who I miss every day.
Here lies Philip J. Fry, named for his uncle, to carry on his spirit.
And the truth is revealed. Everything Fry thought was wrong. His brother didn't hate him, and the first man on Mars was not an insult to his dreams. It was a dedication to his legacy. Yancey broke a long-standing family tradition just to honor his brother's memory. And so, understanding now that his brother did love him, Fry places the clover back in the grave, giving up a lifetime of luck. I was awestruck. Here's the thing.
Just say the thing.
When I watched this episode for the first time, I had already seen clips of it. I knew what the ending was gonna be, and yet it was still executed so well that it brought tears to my eyes. I mean, I didn't cry. I did manly things like grill on the barbecue and sports. Yeah, it's a manly thing, right? But even though I totally 100% know I'm not lying, did not cry when I saw this scene, I will admit that it can bring out some serious feels. But that's only a minor part of why I decided to review this episode. What I really wanted to talk about is the execution. This episode spent so much time getting us not to like Yancey. And at the end, he's become our favorite character for what he did. And it does all of this without ever jumping the shark. It must have been so tempting to want to make Yancey have some kind of reason for stealing Fry's life as a child to try and justify his actions. Like maybe Yancey was secretly protecting Fry or something. But no, Yancey has no good reason. He was wrong. Though you could say Yancey stealing his brother's stuff was his inspiration of Fry manifesting itself in a misguided way. Yancey was a jealous kid, and yeah, the stuff he did to Fry was wrong, but that didn't mean he didn't love his brother. And note, all the stuff we see Yancey do is when he's a child. As an adult, it's very possible he'd learn to accept the differences between him and Fry. Look at how Yancey stares at Fry's picture as he tells his son he loves him. You know he's simultaneously talking to two different people. One that's in front of him, and one that isn't there. It's such a great scene.
I love you, Philip. And I always will.
I almost nitpicked that Fry giving up the clover wouldn't happen. Would someone like Fry, who's short-sighted and idiotic, do that? But then I remembered that Fry is a simple guy and often gives up stuff for what he, at the time, finds valuable. He passed on his dream apartment so Bender wouldn't have to give up his antenna. He left his life behind so his girlfriend wouldn't have to travel to the future alone. He passed on millions of dollars to enjoy a snack with his friends, which even though they didn't like it, he had no regrets. Fry constantly gives up great prizes to enjoy something more simple. And this is not only no exception, but it's the best example there is. Anyway, I'm not done binging Futurama yet, but so far this is definitely my favorite episode. I just love how throughout the whole thing, it gradually made its audience think something was true, only to pull the rug out from under them in a way that's completely believable to the story. This is how a twist is done, and it's one I won't forget anytime soon. This has been Shady Do-Rags. So long, farewell, Auf Wiedersehen, goodbye.